Richie rocks.
All right.
Start her up.
Welcome to the Realennials Podcast session number 2.
Welcome.
My name is Patrick. I'm here with...
This is Ruby speaking.
Together we are the Realennials.
The Realennials Podcast. We're actually really glad that you're listening right now. We're just thankful for that.
Absolutely.
We had some time to discuss a few things prior to this podcast, but we're going to be touching on a lot of subjects for the first time together. I think we've both read on both of these subjects, or all of these subjects, but we're going to be learning from each other, so please bear with us.
All right. So I think first up, basically just some headlines, things that's going on right now in the world. There's bigger things in the world, Ruby, going on right now.
What? Besides what's going on in this room, I don't think so.
That's probably true. So what's going on right now with Brazil?
Okay, so today, President Dilma Rousseff was impeached. Well, awaiting trial to be formally impeached. She's
technically suspended.
She's technically suspended for 180 days. So for the next 6 months, we're going to be waiting on a trial. What's funny is we just found out that 60% of the, is it a Senate? They were calling it a Senate, right? 60% of the senators?
I'm not quite sure what that is. Their
60% of whatever
their legislature,
yeah,
which is, all of their legislators voting.
60% of them are being convicted as well for the scandal that actually through all of this.
What scandal is this? It sounds scandalous.
It is scandalous. Pass it. Hold on. We have wine. We're having, we have notes here and we're looking at stuff. So bear with us. But okay, so last year, it's called the car wash scandal. Petrobras, which is Brazil's
car wash. Like, I'm working at the car wash.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
I don't even know if I'm explaining it correctly. Okay, so Brazil has a national oil company.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Carry
on. Sorry, I didn't want to be coughing over you.
No, I'm coughing. Woo.
Yeah, take another couple rips and then maybe I just put it down.
I think so. We can always relight. We also like to smoke pot, so I'm not sure if you caught on to that, but that's what we're doing right now.
This will be cut out. All of this.
Totally cut out, but since we're doing it right now.
Not gonna cut it out now.
This stays. I mean, we are being real. These are what Realennials do.
The Realennials here.
Actually, let's touch on marijuana for just a second, because
sometimes you just have to clear your mind.
It's the
reset
drug.
It.
It's really the drug of it's been the drug. It's not the drug of just our generation. I mean,
right.
Throughout the 60s and 70s. I think weed is the only drug, other than alcohol, that you can readily find. I don't know where to find. I don't know what are pill drugs, Vicodin, Xanax.
Yeah, what's with all these people overdosing on phenolin?
Yeah,
I don't even know what phenolin is.
Where do they get that? I could find you weed, but I couldn't find you any prescription medication. That is why so many states are legalizing marijuana. Because people don't even see it as a drug anymore. And I don't know if that necessarily makes it right or wrong, but I don't think that marijuana was made illegal for I think it was made illegal for different reasons than it being harmful to humans.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it wasn't about health. It had to be something to do with I don't even know. I think was it a public health thing? Have you studied anything on that? Have you seen anything? I haven't.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much generally accepted that for the most part it was used by basically what you could call white supremacists, the white people in charge of the laws and the cities and everything, made it illegal because mostly minorities used it, and it was basically a form of social control over that.
I definitely believe in social control, so I don't see that. That doesn't surprise me. But I feel like this is a very relevant topic, especially right now, because there's so many law changes in the United States about how, and Americans, or I feel like people in general, if you're told something is legal, that doesn't necessarily make it good. And if you're told something is illegal, that doesn't necessarily make it bad. On a moral scale, not on a legal scale. Because if you do something that's legally bad, you're going to get the legal consequences, right? So that, for instance, possibly what we're doing now, depending on our location in the United States.
There's an excellent quote that pretty much summarizes everything you just said, that I think I heard in a movie, and it basically just goes like, there's the law, and then there's what's right.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. And so I don't know if marijuana falls under it might fall under the illegal, but it's a good thing. So I just don't want, the legalization of marijuana I don't think it's going to change how people smoke or use the drug. I think it's going to change people's perspective on if it's good or bad to do it.
I've been talking about this since forever. I wrote a paper one time for an English class when I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And it talked about the legalization of weed. And the reason why people perceive it as a gateway drug is because it's called something bad. It's classified with things that are really bad.
Yeah.
So I think the association that happens with it when you're young and you're growing up and you're trying it,
yeah,
is like, okay, well, I tried this and they said it was really bad. And now come to find out that science is saying it's good to cure cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so like
it's not as bad as we thought.
So why then do they use it as a form of control over people?
It's the regulation of it that's the control, and we get a dose of it everywhere, to be honest. I mean, the government controls a lot of things. And the unfortunate one is the mind control. That's why the psychological aspect of this is so intriguing.
Yeah, but for me as an economist. Cut. What's the timestamp on this?
Oh man.
It's clear to me that like, despite whatever purpose they have for making it illegal historically, it's no reason to continue to keep it illegal. Because now we are understanding the benefits of it and understanding there are some negatives with it as well.
Well, but with everything, it's like everything in excess is bad.
Exactly.
Everything in excess is bad. So, but here's the thing. It just seems like, okay, somebody can overdose, right, on prescription medication. Somebody can cause themselves their organs to fail from drinking a lot of alcohol. You know, that's disruptive to your body, but so is everything. Like, it's bad to sit down for too long. It's bad to, like, I don't know, smoke cigarettes. It's bad to, sleep less than 8 hours. We're all slowly killing ourselves anyway. So I just wanted to go ahead and spiral that down.
I feel you. I agree with all of that.
I get real dramatic when I start thinking about things. But I don't know. I hope that I mean, we're having a glass of wine right now, and I just don't see the difference between marijuana and alcohol. I feel like alcohol is worse. It's more imperative. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's more destructive. It's more rampant. It's crazy how much people drink too.
Yeah, I don't drink a whole lot.
No, I don't either. But I've seen people.
But there are people that do. I have before too.
Yeah, and I'm talking more of
I'm
talking like a lifestyle. People do this every day. Like they do a lot of drinking. So I don't see what if that's not bad, how is smoking but in the same, just replace a drink with smoke? How are they not like it should be perceived the same, but it's not. And the reason it's not perceived the same is it's just because of a mind trick. Like one is legal, one is illegal.
Yeah, because that's the only
difference.
That's their power that they're using over us.
Yeah. The legality of it. And we're so... this might sound stupid, but I just don't feel like some, laws aren't for me.
Well, there's some laws that don't make sense. See, okay, this is an even larger picture about how all of that works, right? Okay. There's how... legislators are making it difficult for people to go to college, like with conservatives that are protecting the wealthy, because then the system, when they try to be generous like Obama and let people like us go to school, people like poor people go to college, it breeds like a mass educated people that come from the bottom, come from poor, so they understand the system better and how to try to get around it.
I like that.
Which is why
I hope I'm in that category.
It's important to talk about, right?
The system?
Yeah, and critique it.
I've been saying that for so long. I just don't take anything at face value anymore. I don't. Right. I question. I'm not going to go through with it or actually even speak a lot about it until I've gathered what I need to formulate, educated opinion about something. But I don't feel like people do that. They're fed these. They're just fed these things and they eat it. They just take it and they're
consumers, sheep.
Yeah, sheep, consumers. I'm very against consumerism.
Yeah.
I'm very against consumerism, and you know what? That's why I like fashion, because it is the epitome of consumerism. You know what else is? I mean, any physical, but there's also this consumerism of culture. People eat, sleep, breathe things that are happening that are cultural. That's just something that happens in this culture, and they don't question the reasoning behind it, and they just go with it, and they are sheep. And so I just hope actually anybody listening to this would just make a note somewhere and just tell yourself to ask more questions. Just be a little more curious about things. Just dig a little bit deeper, and you will be surprised at what you find.
Don't be afraid to use that Google.
Don't be afraid to use Google.
The internet.
Or ask somebody.
Do some research.
Yeah. I like hearing interesting questions.
A librarian.
Dude, for real. You know what? If I had to get a job after I retired, number one obviously is going to be an artist, but number two would definitely be librarian. That'd be such an dope old person job. Just spreading wisdom.
That's dope, man. Kids need to go to librarians and learn about shit.
Or just libraries, whatever. Be curious. I spent a lot of time at libraries when I was younger. I think this is my favorite place in Garden. I spent many.
Nice library there.
They do have a nice library. Lawrence has a really nice library. The Plaza Library here is really nice. It has a beautiful view. But question everything. Just be aware. That's all I ask. So I'm doing things with fashion now, but prior to this, I was very interested in corporate social responsibility for these same reasons. Like, corporations hold a lot of power in just how everything works, especially like society, cultural, like economically. So I'm very interested in corporations that use that power in a positive way. But I'm even more interested in corporations that abuse the power that they have. Right. I'm like really out to get those types of organizations.
Yeah, so now we got that journalistic style that you can...
Oh, totes. I'm so into that.
Yeah, that's dope.
But I did my capstone class, so I went back to school.
Oh, yeah. So, explain this. You're
the Petrobras. It's... Okay, let me get into it. So, corporate social responsibility. This is what I did my capstone class on. So I'm just really interested in corporate social responsibility, right? And so I'm a Latin American studies major. I'm back in school. I'm trying to decide what to do this like long-winded paper on. And I would have done the fashion industry, to be honest, like the textile industry, but I didn't feel like it was corrupt enough.
What do you mean? What?
Well, I mean,
it's like
compared
drug
to
trafficking and child labor laws making
but that's what drew me to it, right? But in the context, like, oil was gonna have more information for me because oil is like a big, huge. It's just big, huge, giant. I don't know. I felt like I could tackle this. You're talking about the entire oil industry in Brazil and like their corporate social responsibility practices. But anyways, I decided to do my paper on corporate social responsibility in the oil sector of Brazil. I don't even remember what I named my paper.
I was just about to ask you what your title was.
I'm actually going to go look it up right now so I can tell you.
So like analysis of the Brazilian oil market.
I don't even think I did that. Let me see. Look at Roxy. What does she want?
Does she need some water or something?
Okay. Let me check while this loads. Remember when we had to wait for dial-up? What would you go do while the dial-up was going on?
I don't know. Probably play a video game.
Video game?
Yeah, play like a game of NFL Blitz.
Oh, she did want water. Roxy? Crap, okay. So I did this paper. I spent a semester researching this topic, and it's actually relevant today, and this is going to tie back into what's just happened in Brazil, which is Dilma Rousseff has been impeached, well, suspended, awaiting trial to make a permanent, for it to be permanent. What did I name this paper? So many.
So, what semester did you do this in? Tell us about this semester. What was your frame of mind when you decided to write on this topic?
This was last year. I started this in March of last year. So I took this capstone class a few years ago, and I just couldn't finish it. I don't know if I was slacking off or if life was just so crazy for me, but I took it incomplete in the class, right? And so in March, I started thinking, I wonder if I can finish up. And so I actually got a chance to finish up my class. And so he asked me what I wanted to do my paper on, and I was like, well, let me think about it. And I'm pretty ambitious on my topics, and I often get that as a critique, I'm assuming, but I'm like, well, I'm shooting for the stars. But I mean, it's relevant today, and I really hate this corruption that happens in Latin America. That's why I was a Latin American Studies major. That's why I studied that. So for me to go into the oil industry, which is the number one industry with corruption, I'm assuming, because it's such a huge industry and it rules the world right now. We're so dependent on fossil fuel.
Couldn't argue against that.
Yeah, but... Well, what would you argue against that? About the oil industry? What other industry would be...
No, I'm saying I couldn't.
Oh,
I couldn't argue against that. That's what sorry. I don't
I'm
know
like,
if I sounded like I said.
I'm like, no, please explain yourself.
No, I was like, I can't argue with that. That's what I meant.
Okay, so my paper is called the Petrobras Paradox, Corporate Social Responsibility in Brazil. And it was a paradox because here's this... Okay, so Petrobras is the national state-owned oil company of Brazil. They're 51%. 51% state-owned. So Brazil, the country, is in charge of what happens with their oil with this state-owned, right?
And the company is like, they mine it.
They mine it.
They refine it and distribute it.
Yeah, they. I mean, they're competitors with like Exxon.
And they have a partial open market there where there can be private companies there as well?
Yes, but it makes it very hard because the government has put policies in place to really restrict the competition and like I want to say specifically drilling there, like actually doing stuff in their country, but that was interesting to me, right? So I specifically looked at the corporate social responsibility of Petrobras because here's this company they were actually looked up to, right, in Latin America. Like this is a state-owned oil company that's doing well. They're making a lot of money. They're competing with big oil producers. They're taking over their own industry. But come to find out, there was something called the car wash scandal where they found out $10 billion had been laundered through this car wash.
Billion with the B.
Billion over the. It might have been like $8 billion in 10 years, but it was over 10 years, and it had been laundered through a car wash. So construction companies were putting in bids with the government to build like offshore construction of oil rigs or something, and these they were like hiking up the bids and then giving out bribes to executives or like to members of Congress, I guess whatever it would be. And they found this out, and Dilma Rousseff, which has just been impeached, to remind everyone, was the chairwoman of this company for 7 of those 10 years. So she had to have known something was going on. And also, like we said earlier, 60% of the whatever the political party, I don't know what it is. I just don't even know how to explain it. Like their Senate, their House of Representatives.
I've heard it referred to as the Senate.
Yeah, so of her Senate was also
Associated Press.
Yeah, was also implicated in this. You know, she was not implicated. I don't know what, like legally they didn't take action against her for committing a crime. So technically right now when she's complaining about this being an injustice, it is an injustice legally. Morally though, I feel like she must have known a little bit more about what was going on in her backyard. You know, like...
That's what they're accusing her of outright, isn't it?
Yeah, and she's calling it a coup, right? So she's calling this a coup. And that could very well be the case. I mean, what is this... I always want to look at it from the point of view of what does America want? And how is the person that's about to be in charge going to give America what they want? Because I feel like Latin American presidents, heads of state, I don't know, a lot of times they're very corrupt in the way that they really want to make sure they're aligning with the superpower on this side of the earth, which is the US of A. But a lot of those countries go against the grain and really reject some of the Western like ideals, like the United States ideals. But I don't know why I started going there.
Which ideals do you think? You're talking about members of Brazil community or their political system that don't approve of how America runs its economy and its government?
No, I don't think that was what I was trying to say. I've really lost my train of thought, but this is all explored in my paper.
That's what I was talking about. Let's get in depth into this paper.
This is, I mean, it got me through this class, guys. Let me just tell you. But I learned a lot of interesting things. Do you want me to read you just the intro?
So, it's a scandal, right? So something illegal happened?
Yeah, so this is illegal. So, one, members of Congress or Senate or whatever, they can't take bribes. I mean, they're not supposed to be taking money in. So they were arresting people like on yachts. They were picking people up in Lamborghinis. Like, this is how this scandal was. People were getting a lot of extra money. So I what I think was happening, and I'm just not brushed up on this, but these construction companies were giving out extra money. No, they were giving these construction companies extra money, and they were pitching that money back to whoever like made that happen for them, whatever senator it was. So they were getting that bribe money. Mm-hmm. And then, because these policymakers, they controlled, I think, like the pricing of everything, of what they would give out, of what they would pay for this to be done. And so, I mean, if I was telling you, okay, we're going to build a building right here, it's going to cost $4.7 billion. Or wait, $1 million. Let's just make it something. And I started explaining to you like the intricacies of it. I might be able to make you think that it would cost $4.5 million to build a building on this lot here, when in reality, it's costing me $100,000, right? But you would be informed and you would look into that. But it's essentially what the government was doing with really boring shit. Like, are you looking into that? Are you looking into what the contract bids are for fucking oil? No, who would be looking for that? Nobody. So all this extra money that was getting kicked back, all these politicians were getting this money and using it to buy yachts and Lamborghinis and condos on Copacabana Beach. So this was a scandal, and this is a scandal also because.
So why were these companies giving? What were the companies getting out of it, giving these politicians money?
They were getting to build, like, whatever infrastructure they needed for their oil sector. So it would be like factories. Maybe they were building. They were like big construction companies that would build big factories.
Just anywhere they wanted.
Or like rigs. I don't think anywhere they wanted, but they just got the opportunity to get that business.
Is this why Brazil is so like they have a big pollution problem?
It could be.
Is it related?
With the oil?
Oil industry?
Well, they do have a pollution problem, and they are doing offshore drilling. There's actually a huge reserve off the coast. Yeah, but I would... Are you talking about, like, air pollution?
What's up?
Hi.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you have an egg roll and an ice cream cone in your hand.
Pollution.
You're my hero. One in one and one in the other.
What's up, company?
Granted all these contracts. So it was just an it was just to have an opportunity with the country to have that job, I guess. I'm not sure. But so Brazil was pissed after this happened, right? Brazil was mad. And they were pissed about the World Cup being there too. Like the government's spending all this, like, one, they're laundering money, $10 billion. Like, that's a lot of money to be laundered. Going to fucking politicians. You know? So Brazil was pissed, and they're still pissed right now.
Yeah, it's
like,
going
they're
down
still
right
pissed.
now. Like, everyone's... Yeah.
Well, in Latin America, people protest. Like, as soon as shit isn't... As soon as shit... I don't even know how to say this. As soon as people feel like there's an injustice, there's people protesting. That doesn't happen here. That doesn't happen in America.
Yeah, it's starting to now.
I hope more, but all the sheeple are just... They're like, no, I don't want to protest. But Brazil's still mad, and they've been pushing for her to get impeached. And they finally voted on it today, and she's out. Temporarily.
Suspended from her post.
And she's pretty outspoken about it. What do you think about her Marxist background? Like, she was part of a guerrilla group.
To learn.
I think she's looking for the greater good, but maybe she's not getting there.
See, it's so hard to really tell because we're fed this like through extra mediums because we're not there. We don't really see what's going on.
Yeah, not on a first-hand basis, for sure. But you know what? So my paper explored a little bit more into the corporate social responsibility. So I actually went and read through Petrobras' corporate social responsibility, like, literature on what they're supposed to be doing. With it, like, that's the core of their company, right? This is what they believe in. This is what we should be doing. We believe in giving back. We believe in, like, honesty. We believe in hard work. We believe in whatever. And they themselves were not doing it. And now it's a public scandal that put a lot of people, like, I don't want to say at risk, but it's pretty embarrassing for a country to be misusing their money that way. It's very corrupt.
Okay, yeah, particularly because of how much profit they make from that industry.
Totally.
They were like in the top 5 economies in the world up until that point before all that stuff happened.
Yeah, so...
And then it just came all crashing down. So, I mean, not unsimilar to what happened here.
So as an economist, what do you think about what's going on? What do you think that does for there to be corruption within a company like that?
I think it's like the worst thing that could possibly happen to an economy or to a society in general.
Well, what makes it so what made it so compelling to me was that this is state owned. So this implicates the government as well as a corporation into. So here was what I talked about in my paper. God, I need to read through this thing again. But I was exploring the fact that because it's state owned, did they have to be like socially responsible, or was it, or can they do what they want to do because they're make the rules, right? So like so what a corporation does, what a business does is their number one goal is to make money. That is the number one fucking goal. And that's stated. That's like that's but that's what I explored, really. I don't know if, like, does that make any sense? Is that...
No, it's totally exactly what happens. It's what we call corruption here.
Does that make it... So...
But similar things happen here. That's what basically Bernie Sanders talks about by wanting to end Citizens United.
Mm-hmm.
It prevents any entities from like donating X amount to any particular candidate.
Really? Dude, I need to go look into Bernie Sanders a little bit more because I'm not informed, and I'm not proud of that right now.
But if you think about it, think of all that corruption that happens over there, mm-hmm. quote unquote corruption, alleged corruption. It's all pretty similar to things that happen here.
We're fucked, man. What a downer.
So...
Well,
That's what's crazy. People talk about it all the time. Like, an economy can collapse. You know,
is there a study of that? Is there is there a class about the collapse of economies? There's gotta
Are
be.
you kidding me? There's like an infinite amount of them.
Really?
Yeah, everything. Like, pretty much everything ended at some point. Maybe not. I mean, not ended per se, I guess. They talk about
But collapse, like a system. I don't know. Well, civilizations fall.
It definitely has. It's happened in like Argentina. It's happened in the late 1990s. There was what's called the I forget what it's called, but it was a spread of all these economies in Southeast Asia collapsing. Their economies were collapsing due to basically just like unpaid mortgages.
Really?
On all kinds, like everything across the board, like commercial sites and everything, and whole economy starts collapsing across the board, and like their currency pretty much becomes worthless like overnight. But it happens in smaller countries in the U.S. because in the U.S. it's super diverse, the economy.
Oh yeah.
So when some industries come and go.
Like it fluctuates well enough, or
It's diverse. Like our economy, the industries are diverse. It's always protected us from. But
a collapse. Well, yeah, you're like a country that's dependent on, I don't know, Russia.
But I think that could
Potatoes.
collapse it for sure is like the overuse of fossil fuels and destroying the planet and consumerism.
Oh, consumerism. I fucking hate consumerism. I can't talk about it enough.
This is what's going on in Brazil.
Yeah.
And this is what's going on here. It's a similar thing to a certain extent. So she's getting booted.
She's out.
Potentially. For things she's done allegedly.
Correct. Well, and I'm not sure if there's... I'm not sure.
Meanwhile, the Olympics are about to happen.
I know. And the Zika epidemic.
And Zika is like to throw in another wrench.
So Korea actually unleashed some Zika-proof uniforms. And when they went to test them...
Korea?
Oh, wait. South Korea, I think. Yes. South Korea. When they went to test them, they were like, oh, well, we can't really use these long sleeves in this tropical weather. So they had to redo the uniforms. But people are taking precautions because of Zika. And I was watching something earlier that was saying that they should postpone the Olympics because of the Zika. Have there ever been Olympics that have been canceled or postponed? Should we look that up?
Yeah. Ask the Google. The Google will tell you.
The Google will tell us.
If ever there was an appropriate time, I feel like this would be it.
What? For them to cancel?
Or postpone.
Canceled or postponed.
But probably cancel, right? Because what are you going to do? Everyone's fucking plane tickets are bought.
Let's see. Well, people are talking about it for this, but I want to see if there's been in history.
And there's probably nowhere else that could just emergency change the venue to out of nowhere. Maybe Sochi. I bet they could do it in Sochi. Or Russia.
Yeah. Where's Sochi at?
In Russia.
Oh, yeah. I thought you... Horrible. I can't even make an excuse for that one. Shit. That was bad. Anyways, this article, Zika outbreak means it is time to cancel Rio Olympics. I didn't see the Olympics happening there anyways. I think they could.
It would be dope if it was in Mexico City.
Zika is bad in... Does Mexico say 15 billion?
I've been talking about this. People have been talking about this, about a disease, right?
I saw on Instagram that this is a patented disease. That it's been patented. I don't know.
That is actually, just historically speaking, the most likely scenario for people, or not people necessarily, but a whole population of anything
To die?
is catching like a virus or something that you can't control.
Like I Am Legend?
You see it in, you see it in species of plants. Like, have you heard right now that the bananas are dying, becoming extinct? A similar scenario, like they have just some sort of bacteria that kills it and spreads. Or fungi. I think to be accurate, it's a fungus.
Yeah, it is a fungus. That's interesting. Bananas. What if in like 10 years no bananas? You're gonna have bananas. We don't.
Dude, I'm gonna freak out if that ever happens.
If there's no bananas, I'm gonna freak out.
I'm gonna freak out.
What are we doing to ourselves? Well, yeah. If you want to take out a population, that's how you do it. Well, that's. Do you believe in those conspiracies like population control, chemtrails, like stuff in water?
I don't believe. What do you mean? Like, what was the first part of that question? Conspiracy?
Yeah, the conspiracy theories about that. I don't know.
I wouldn't call it a conspiracy. I'd call it negligence on the part of corporations.
Yeah.
Willful neglect. In fact, in some cases, outright abuse of power. And a perversion of our democratic system and capitalistic system by controlling it to the advantage of such a few amount of people. And I think that has actually happened globally, and it's, in fact, the worst part about it is because America spread it.
Really?
Yeah, it forced so many other countries, like particularly in Central and South America. America went in and sent CIA agents to train and organize militia to
overthrow the government. Those are coups. They happen.
Right, and they did it under the guise of being a democracy, but they're just getting hella funding to basically take over their country and write laws in favor of the United States, capitalistic trade policies with that country to take advantage of those countries.
Bruh, that's all I'm trying to fight. That's all I'm trying to make not happen. Is that right there? That's why I got into Latin American studies, because that happens all the time.
That's the norm.
That's the norm. And that's what I was saying earlier, was that, like, they're going to put somebody in a position of power, and I always ask myself, what can they give the United States? Like, that's sad to ask what they can give a different country. Like, what can they give to Brazil? It should be my question. My question is, how is that head of state going to benefit the United States? Because they run everything. Like, the United States is...
And it's because the United States is ran by corporations.
Yes. And that's where the corporate social responsibility...
That's why capitalism is like the most massive... like unrestricted, unethical capitalism spread, and it basically created this whole infrastructure on the globe that it's bad for it.
But we can't even give it to that. Well, the corporations are this. God, I hope corporations are listening to this. So, like, we're gonna take them out.
So wait. So I'm gonna take it even deeper and say, like, if we go think about if it's our own human actions that destroys our whole economy and society, and it has nothing to do with like biology per se, but it could cause the mass extinction of our people,
like a psychological
population.
Thing.
Or on the flip side, one that is like the Zika virus.
Yeah. Dude, wouldn't that be some shit to live through an epidemic like that? Like, go through I don't know. Well, I feel like the psychological thing you're talking about, I feel like we're living through that epidemic right now. I feel like a lot of people don't dig any deeper than... partly, maybe it's because we're uneducated. We're also in the rat race. We're also like, people are stressed out because they don't have things they need, like necessities. That's why any social issue I identify with. Like I'm all about the people, but those are the things. I lost my train of thought. It's gone.
So what do you think? Should they have the Olympics there or no?
I don't think it hurt them to cancel them and figure out what they're gonna like. That country needs to figure themselves out. They need to be alone for a second.
Get
like,
it right.
Yeah, they like need to be alone and figure themselves out, like what they want in a president, what they want, and because Zika's pretty scary. What do you know about Zika? I don't even what are the symptoms? It could just be like something stupid, like, oh, you develop a wart on your elbow. And I don't know. Probably worse than that.
I think people get it.
I think
and
it's
they
a
don't even
birth
know
defect.
They have it. Like, I think they get it, and it's like similar to HIV, where you can have it and not know, and then it affects you when you're having a baby.
So women can't go to Brazil.
And I think it affects like old people and babies. They can get it and die probably.
No, not old people. Zika symptoms. Let's see.
They'll Google that. They're gonna be kicking in the door over here, like quarantining us and shit.
Oh, I'm sure more people have looked this up. The CDC. What is that? Center for Disease Control. Oh my God. Most people infected with Zika virus won't even know that they have the disease because they won't have symptoms. The most common symptoms of Zika are fever, rash, joint pain, or conjunctivitis. God, sound it out, Rubes. Other common symptoms include muscle pain and headache. The incubation period for Zika virus disease is not known, but it is likely to be a few days to a week. That's vague. Like,
it's becoming a massive thing.
So it's like a fever, it's a rash, it's joint pain, it's the common cold. The rash isn't a common cold, but it's
it sounds terrifying to me. I don't want anything to do with that.
Oh, excuse me. Holy moly! Thank you. It says in case you guys wanted to know. Treat the symptoms. Get plenty of rest. Drink fluids to prevent dehydration. Take medicine such as I can't say this. It's Tylenol.
Aspirin?
Yeah. No, it says acetaminophen. Acetaminophen.
Which is aspirin. That's what Tylenol is.
Oh, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a branded aspirin?
Aspirin is even a brand. Acetaminophen is the drug actually that you take.
Acetaminophen. I can say it. Oh, it says do not take it.
Tylenol is just a brand of a company that sells acetaminophen.
Okay, it says do not, but the next one says do not take aspirin or other non-steroidal and anti-inflammatory drugs until dengue can be ruled out. What?
So, okay. So what are our final thoughts about this then, huh?
Okay, so our final thoughts are that Brazil is going through something right now, and we should all be there for Brazil and watch and question things. And I'm just interested to see what goes on with this. I mean, we got to see what goes on in the trial. We got to see what goes on with the Olympics. This is to be continued for Brazil. It's interesting stuff, you know. And we'll always sprinkle in some corporate.
The Olympics are coming up. They're like 2 months away.
What is?
The Olympics.
The Olympics are coming up, so we gotta.
I have a feeling a bunch of people are gonna bail.
You think, like who? Like any countries? Who's the first country? Who's the first country to completely bail? Let's talk about it. Who's the flakiest country in the world?
Okay. All right, but first I want to just say why I think it's a likely scenario that anybody would.
Yeah.
Is that if this is truly a pandemic that's happening, why would you send people across borders like that freely to potentially contract it and bring it back into your country?
Exactly. Oh, you think they'll do some like legal restrictions on people? Like who controls that?
Because I don't think there's a vaccine or anything. Governments control that.
Oh well, yeah, because France, after that attack, they were not letting any flights in or out of France for a while.
Yeah, they can do that.
So I mean, they can do that in Brazil and just say nobody's coming to Brazil. Doesn't mean you can't get to Brazil. You just have to probably fly in somewhere else. Yeah, no,
you can
drive over.
You can still travel to other countries potentially, but like the government, like the U.S. government, for instance, can say like we have a U.S. travel ban, which means like we don't recommend going there at all. They don't have any direct flights to there. They highly advise against it for whatever reason.
But you can't.
Political instability or violence, conflict in the area. Violent conflict. But why would you do it? Like, why would you want your people to go there? Potentially because you have to think at least a couple thousand people from every country go for that.
That's a lot of people. And you know what? Well, I was watching something earlier.
And they can contract it from just mosquitoes. It's not even like an STD where only like a few people are going to do it, you know, and potentially expose themselves to it.
Yeah.
It's something that like anybody can get walking down the street there. And the reason it's so bad is because they have so much land there.
Yeah.
That is basically waste and pollution. Which is, I think, one of the biggest reasons why the people there are upset about it with their government, because now they're finding out that their president had participated in actions to gain money at the expense of creating their economy and their landscape of their society there, with pollution and Zika being provided as a result of that. And now they're hosting the Olympics, and it's basically a huge embarrassment for their country.
It is a huge embarrassment for the country, and I think that's valid. Like, it's definitely one of the many reasons that all those Brazilians are very, very mad. Well, that's great. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, do you think there's any potential for something like that to happen if Hillary were to be elected, for her to be in like her first or second year and some shit hit the fan and like impeach?
I could see it happening. I could actually see that happening to Hillary, but I don't know what would come out of the bag for us if we elect her. No,
we would still get her VP, I suppose.
I guess we would still get her VP, but that'd be a slap in the face for poor Hillary. Like, that would suck. That's like Leslie Knope on Parks and Rec. She finally got in office and then she got impeached.
Yeah, I forgot about that last episode.
Oh, so funny. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. And catch us on the flip side. So
it's been a pleasure. We can talk about more stuff.
All right.
Signing off.